Hi you guys, this is Misty with the Oracle Evolution. Welcome back to my channel. Today I came across a quote that says, "The most important opinion is the one you have of yourself. Stop letting the fear of what others might think hold you back from becoming all you were created to be." And that is by John Gordon. So this made me kind of think of, I have another set of oracle cards that aim to kind of show us what our blind spots are in certain areas. So I wanted to do a check-in for the collective to see how we're allowing the fear of what others might think of us hold us back in 4 key areas. So we're going to look at area 1 has to do with our money. The next one, the next one has to do with relationships. The third one has to do with our overall health. And then the last one that we're going to look at has to do with spirituality. Now, I understand that you guys may not be interested in watching all of them. So, please feel free to just watch the areas that are most important to you, that resonate with you the most, or that you're most interested in. Or you can always come back to the video later to look at some of the other areas if you kind of want to focus, one area at a time. But what we're looking at is essentially our blind spots as it relates to our fears of what other people might think, and how we're allowing that to keep us from becoming, our true selves, all that we were created to be. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to go ahead and start with the first one, which has to do with money. Okay, so the card that we have as it relates to our blind spot with our fears of what other people might think and money is card 44. And I'm actually going to read what it says from the book. It might be, a little bit longer than, but bear with me, okay? So 44 has to do with expectations. And it's funny because 4 plus 4 is 8, which has to do with prosperity. So, material things, material goods, also cycles. And 44 is expectations. So that's what we have here, our blind spot when, as it relates to other people, how we're allowing what they think about us to hold us back from our money. It has to do with expectations. Okay. So it says, expectations are creating intense resistance in the situation you're in. You're most likely not being honest about your actual expectations. As a result, you tend to be disappointed and you're apt to be on a totally different page than other people. We all have expectations. These expectations may be conscious or they may be subconscious. Most expectations are subconscious. This means you may know what some of your expectations are, and you may not know that you have certain expectations even though you do. To expect something is to believe with confidence that it will happen. Expectation often implies the attitude that something should happen or should be a certain way. To assume is to take something for granted or to suppose it is true, even without having any proof. Looking at that definition, can you see how often we do this? Our expectations are set up by previous experiences, such as things with our culture and society, by watching the relationships around us when we are little, and by our previous interactions with people. We have a way of assuming that everyone else's sense of reality is the same as ours and getting confused when there is a conflict of expectations. Just ask a couple from different cultural backgrounds. A relationship with someone from another culture will show you really quickly just how different people's expectations in a relationship can be. So I'm going to okay, I'm going to skip down to this one where it says, if you are It says you're being asked to become aware of your expectations in this situation. So what are your expectations as it relates to your money? Okay. Then you must decide consciously if you want to maintain those expectations or let them go. If you want to maintain them, you must communicate them to the people involved so that they have the chance to either agree to them or not agree to them. Only then can you decide what is in the best interest of everyone. Okay? So right off the bat, it really is sounding like maybe you have some expectations as it relates to the money that you're going to make and or the money that you would like to make, whether this has to do with your career, a business that you're starting, whether it has to do with your money, even in a relationship, like if you're sharing expenses or sharing a bank account or finances with someone, there might be some type of blockages in the sense of you're not speaking up and letting people know what it is that you want, what it is that you expect, because you have a fear of what they're going to think. Maybe they're going to think that you're being rude. Maybe they're going to think that you don't love them or care about them. Maybe you may have been raised to kind of feel like if you ask for more money you're being greedy. So that might be one of the blind spots. So let's kind of go ahead and see what else we can get from this as it relates to expectations and money. Expectations and money. Okay, so what other messages do we have? Okay, so I'm getting it's keeping someone from being as prosperous, as wealthy as you would like to be, as you are hoping to be, because you have this fear of speaking up about your expectations about money, perhaps what someone's going to think or feel, or whatever else. Okay. Ooh. Okay, so we have Will of the Wisp, treasures hidden in the shadow. And we also have Spirit of the River, movement toward adventure. And I see right off the bat, not even including the oracle cards that we're using, we have a lot of blue here. And that's funny because we're talking about, having the fear of speaking up with your expectations as it relates to your money. And we have this blue, which, reminds me of the throat chakra. So that is about, maybe you have some sort of blockage, again, as it relates to the throat, as it relates to speaking. Okay. And it's kind of like, with this purple here, the final card, we have purple, and it is caterpillar, opportunity. Yeah. And that's more of, your crown chakra. So it's like you have this knowing of what it is that you expect, but you're struggling. That's what I'm getting. You have a knowing of what it is that you expect, but you are struggling to speak up to whoever, whoever you're concerned about, whoever you're worried about. But by speaking up, like it says, hidden in the shadows. So when we think of shadows, these are like the dark spaces and the dark places, like where, that's where our fears are, right? And so again, your fear of speaking up, like what's going to happen if I speak up to this person? Well, what you don't understand or what you may not see is that you're not really preserving the relationship. The treasure is hidden in that conversation about the expectations. And so, even if it does lead to a person who, walks out of your life because they don't agree with your expectations, because it is their right to do so, then I'm going to step out on a limb and say that they really weren't meant to be long-term a part of your path anyway, as it relates to your money. And so by you trying to force a, I don't know, a partnership, a relationship, a situationship where you stay together and you kind of, my throat feels like it's closing, where you feel like, okay, well, I'll just be quiet about it. But number one, it's keeping you from this treasure. And number two, it builds resentment. So you start to feel resentment towards the other person because it's kind of like, well, they should just know. But not everyone feels the same way that we feel about money. We've been, it was explaining in the little description, like we all have different relationships with money. We all have like our different stories, our different histories that lead us to behave and think the way that we do. And in this case, specifically as it relates to money. And so if you really want to move forward to this more prosperous life, this new opportunity, you are going to have to make that step. You're going to have to make that movement forward towards this, it talks about toward adventure, because this is going to lead you towards a great adventure, a grand adventure. And it's going to open the door for so many, like you're going to have so many different opportunities once you overcome that fear and you start really speaking up, advocating for yourself and letting people know what it is that you expect as it relates to money specifically. And again, this could be with a business, this could be at work, your career, this could be in a relationship with someone where you share finances or, a bank account or something like that. But it's going to you're going to continue to allow other people to hold you back and keep you from this prosperity that's waiting for you if you don't speak up. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I didn't even see that. At the bottom, we have a tidy house. It says clarity and organization. So what I'm getting from this is not only do you need to speak up, before you do that, you have to be clear. Like put it on paper is what I'm hearing. So you're going to have to write out your clear expectations for yourself first. So that might help you with having a conversation with whoever else is involved, whoever it is that you are, have this fear of speaking up to. If you write it down on paper and you are clear yourself with what your expectations are, you organize your thoughts and you clarify for yourself what your expectations are as it relates to money, it's going to be that much easier for you to have that conversation with the other person. So it's going to alleviate some of the fears that you have. Yeah. And at the top, it says unmarked trail revelation. I'm getting, once you do this, you are going to discover a lot of things about yourself. Shocking revelations, things about yourself, maybe the way that you think or feel about money, maybe your own blockages that you've created for yourself. Maybe expectations that you had no idea that you even had. But this is something that's going to be new and different for you, where you're writing down what your expectations are and being crystal clear with yourself. And it's going to work out just really in your favor is what I'm getting. Okay, so let's pull, let's pull a couple of the Ask the Angels cards and see what we get, just to wrap up about this money. Okay, so we have grounding, reconnect with nature, balance, sensitivity, and crystalline grid. And what I'm getting is, like, really, if you come up with that plan, it's going to help you to ground yourself, right? It's going to provide you with that security that you need. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we have claim your power. This is going to be how you reclaim or how you claim your power, which is interesting because this is coming under 5, movement toward adventure, and 5 has to do with change. Believe in your dreams. It says aim high, honor your brilliance, and remember you have help. Believe in your dreams. Wow. And this is under opportunity. So, and I'm kind of feeling like, because 4 has to do with, like, you know, being organized and disciplined. But what I'm getting is when you come up with your plan and your expectations that you have yourself as it relates to money, let's say you set a goal, like, you know, I would like to earn, I don't know, I'll just make it up, like, you know, $200,000 a year, you know, whatever. Aim higher, make it $500,000 a year. Okay. If you need to do like a micro goal where you start off, like, you know, year 1, you know, I want it to be 100,000. Year 2, let's make it 200,000. Year 3, you know, if you need to kind of make it like chunk your goals, then go ahead and do that. But make sure that your final goal, that you're aiming higher than what you are originally comfortable with. And then chunk it into bits where you would be more comfortable, you know, so that you don't start to have any negative thinking. That's what I'm getting from that. And then overall, we have use your discernment. It says, see the truth, be guided, and trust your inner knowing. You know that this is something that you have to do. And you have a fear of doing it. So it's kind of like you're just kind of waiting, stalling perhaps, and you need to get out of that stalling, stuck energy. And I'm hearing ain't nothing to it but to do it. So you need to just go ahead and do it. Okay? So that's what we have for money, 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 money. And we're going to go ahead and move on to our next section, which has to do with relationships. Okay? Next we have relationships. Okay, I'm going to do a quick little shuffle because that kind of bothers me. Okay, so that was money. Next we have relationships, and we're looking at what is our blind spot as it relates to relationships, of how we're allowing our fear of what other people might think to hold us back from being all that we can be, right? Be all that you can be. That's what I'm hearing. So 16, we have 16, and I'm going to grab the book and I'm going to read story time. I'm going to read a little bit about, or a lot of it, who knows, we'll see, as it relates to relationships. What is our blind spot, our blockage? And 16, 1 and 6 is 7, which has to do with being introspective, being wise, prepared. Is it anything about being prepared? No. Wise and introspective. So the focus here is about being wise and being introspective, looking within. And 16 is, for this card, is control. So I'm already having thoughts forming here as it relates to, you know, relationships and our fears, you know, with other people. And right off the bat, I'm thinking like control freak. Like, are we trying to control the narrative to the sense that we're becoming a control freak? Like, we're so afraid of what people think that we're going to try to control the situation in its entirety, even things that we really can't control. Because can you really control what other people think about you? What other people say about you? I mean, the answer is no. So, but let's go ahead and read this as it relates to control. So, You're doing what you're doing for control. Your hidden motive of control is causing you pain and other people pain as well. You're most likely trying to control the inevitable or control the uncontrollable. As a result, you're feeling powerless, terrified, and out of control. You're focusing on something as if it is something that you can control and as if controlling it will prevent pain. This is especially true when you're trying to control things external to you. It is a superbly powerless position to put yourself in to require them to do something else so that you can feel good. In this way, trying to control puts you squarely out of control. This is why it could be said that control is an illusion. Look at the situation and ask yourself, how am I trying to control this scenario? Criticism is often an attempt to gain control of others. We are only critical of something when we are afraid we will be affected by something. Criticism is a cry for help in disguise. It is a cry for help that says, I feel powerless to others, and so I can't trust myself to make myself feel good and especially to feel emotionally safe. And so I need you to correct this thing that is going to cause me pain so I don't have to feel bad. Control is impregnated with disapproval. If I'm going to control myself, I'm disapproving of myself in some way and distrusting of myself in some way. If I am controlling of other people, I am disapproving of and distrusting them in some way. Constantly trying to assert your power to influence or direct your own and or other people's behavior, as well as the course of events, is the problem at hand. You are controlling yourself and or controlling others in ways that do not benefit anyone. What behaviors and course of events exactly are you trying to avoid? The way that you're going about it may simply be getting you into another painful situation. Pushing against what you do not want is making it impossible to bring about what you actually do want. And while I was reading this, you guys, I was trying to pay attention to what I was reading, but I just kept hearing, like, go with the flow. Go with the flow. You know how we're told, like, just go with the flow. Go with, just go with the flow. That's really all I kept hearing. So 16. Let's see what we get here. 16. Let's try to clarify that a little bit. And so exactly, this is about trying to control what other people think, when really, like it said, controlling, that type of control is just an illusion. Trying to control the events that are taking place. But in this instance, we're talking about relationships. So I'm going to just stick with our blind spot. The blind spot for, as it relates to relationships, is you're trying to control someone because you have a fear of, what they're going to think about you and what they're going to say about you. And what you may not realize or what you may not understand is that could be causing you to sabotage the relationship. Yeah. So let's see what we get. Control. Yeah, groupthink. We have mindful, groupthink. What else? Control. Oh, we have this again. Wow. Card 50, Spirit of the River, movement toward adventure. What else? Ooh. And we have dances on one foot, balancing act. So what I'm getting from this is that this is something that is taking place with, whether you see it or not, this has to do with not just your romantic relationships, but perhaps even all your relationships, where it says group think. You have a way that you want people to view you, or you have there's some way that you know, maybe related to your past or something like that, a way that you don't want people to view you. And it's kind of like you're so afraid of other people judging you because of a past, because of your past, that you're doing things to try to just control every aspect of the relationship. And what I'm really getting the sense of is, like, as it relates to your past, these people that you're thinking of, the people that really matter, right? They don't care about your past. And some of them may not even know, like, what this is that you're trying to keep from other people. And if they did know it, again, they don't care. So let's go back to, if you have people, certain people that are trying, you know, they throw things about your past in your face, like, are those really the people that you want to keep in your life, that you want to have relationships with? Because even that, like, that is an attempt of that other person to control you, to keep you in your place. So those are really not even people that you want to associate with, if we're going to be honest here. Yeah. Whatever, I mean, I'm just really thinking about a post that I created where you know, it was basically saying, like, whatever I did in my past, you know, like, it's something that was meant for me to do, to learn from. And I'm not going to say, like, oh, woe is me, like, you know, oh, I made these mistakes, you know, in my youth, or heck, even yesterday. Like, what I did, I chose to do, and I probably loved it when I did it, right? If that was something that was within my control. So why, you know, why fear other people throwing that in your face or using it against you? And if something happened to you that was not within your control, heck, what can you do about it? There's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. And it's not your fault. So there's no guilt, and there's no shame in what happened in your past that you had no control over. You got to let that go. You don't have to control every aspect of, you know, like, what people think about you. If you know, if someone's going to make you feel bad about something, they're just not meant to be in your space. They're not worthy of being in your space. I'm just going to say that. So that's what I'm getting, you know, really just trying to control, like, that's what made you feel like it gave you a false sense of stability, like your actions. And if you're still doing it, like your actions of, like, trying to control what other people think and the narrative that's put out about you, like, it gives you a false sense of control. Because, like, let's think about it, you know, anybody from your past that knows something about your past can come out and tell all of your business, and they can blab it all on social media, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, you know, either blab it yourself or deal with it when it comes, you know, when you get to that point. But don't, like, you have to come to accept whatever it is. Like, it's not, it doesn't do you any good to sit in fear of, like, you know, oh my God, if this gets out, people are going to think this, or people are going to say that. That doesn't serve you in the least. It's not helpful. And living in that state of fear, that's like one of the lowest vibrations you could ever live in. And I'll go back to even like with, like talking about money. If you watch that part of the segment, that kind of keeps your money, your wealth, your prosperity, your abundance away from you, the things that you want to manifest and bring in. And looking at this card again, it's about like making a change. We have the number 5 here, spirit of the river. And the river, it just makes me think about like water just flowing, like again, going with the flow. And just moving towards like this new, I'm hearing the adventures of the new Christine. So just moving towards like a new you where you're not living in fear of what people think, what people are going to do. And we have a balancing act, which is card number 9. I'm getting 9 can, part of it has to do with being compassionate, right? And what I'm getting is like being compassionate towards yourself. Like trusting in yourself and trusting in other people that they're gonna, that not everyone is out to get you. And I think the important part about balancing act is, you have to use your discernment and you have to know like how to balance out like your trust of someone, right? Your trust of other people, but still making it to the point where like you feel safe and secure in yourself, to where you're not divulging so much of yourself, so much of your life to a person that you're not quite sure if you're going to be able to trust them in the future. Okay, let's go ahead and see what else we got. Oh, okay. You're an okay. I'm reloaded. Oh, wow. Beautiful. Forgiveness. Forgiveness. You have to forgive yourself. And that's going to break the bonds. That's going to break the chains. Like if it's something that you feel guilty about, then, just forgive yourself and move on. If it's something that, someone else did, forgive them to a certain extent so that they can no longer control you. Because it's like you're, all of your relationships, if you're allowing, like if you're trying to control every aspect of the relationship based off of what someone else, did that you're afraid will get out, like they have you chained. Forgive them and let that go. Forgive yourself, let that go. If you need to get some type of therapy or, I don't know, go on some type of retreat or something to help yourself heal, whatever you need to do, then do it. We have angelic assistance. Says angel messages, observe your inner knowing and ask for support. So if this is something, this change is something that's going to be really tough for you, that's really hard for you. Number 1, you are getting messages. You are being guided to help you move forward along this, adventure. But I'm hearing follow the nose. It always knows. You know. But if you're unsure, just ask. Ask for support from the Most High, your guides, your ancestors, whatever you ascribe to, you know, or even, if you have someone that you really trust, a family member, a friend, whatever, a therapist, whatever. Just do whatever is best for you and your best interest. Whatever's going to make you feel safe. I'm going to put it that way. I don't know. And then again, speaking of the Most High, oh, darn it. Well, I guess that's fine. Sorry, playing with the little camera there. We have guidance from Spirit. And it says awareness above your head. Spirit is communicating support. So you're being supported. You're being guided from above, from the Most High, and from your higher self. At the bottom is cultivate joy, because I'm getting the Most High wants you to be happy. Boundaries. Okay, so at the top is about boundaries. So that's making sure that you have boundaries in place. That's something that, you may want to work on or may need to work on, whether that's boundaries for other people in the relationship and or boundaries for yourself as it relates to being in a relationship. What's going to make you safe? Feel safe as possible. But at the same time, realizing, right, that you can only control essentially your response and your reaction to certain situations. That's it. How you feel, like your attitude, how you feel about, those are the only things that you really have control over. Okay, so that's what we have for relationships. The blockage has to do with, or the blind spot is, trying to have a little bit too much control in the relationships out of a fear of, what other people might be thinking. And that's holding you back. You got to let that go. Okay. So next we are going to move on to health. All right. What is our blind spot as it relates to our health? And how are we allowing our fear of what people might think hold us back from being all that we were created to be? Okay. And for health, we have 30. Okay, so 30 is 3. Has to do with, one thing it has to do with is being optimistic and even sociable. Let's see what it is, what 30 is. Short-term thinking. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and just read it. You're falling into the trap of short-term thinking. You're not thinking and doing things with the long-term implications in your mind, and this will come back to bite you. People tend to have a strong preference for immediate payoffs as opposed to delayed payoffs, even when the long-term payoffs far outweigh the short-term ones. This may be leading you to making choices that your future self would prefer you had not made. The bottom line is this. If we're making decisions for the future or making choices for right now, we will often make different decisions. Our world is littered with examples of unintended consequences that are the result of short-term thinking. A woman might want to feel the belonging and love and approval relative to a man who is showing her sexual interest, and so she does not use contraception in the short term and thus does not consider the consequence of pregnancy in the long term. And that's not even talking also about, STDs or, other sexual health issues. People may love the instant reward and also avoidance of emotional pain inherent in gambling. In that moment, they're not thinking about the consequences of squandering all their money away. In ancient Rome, a group of men loyal to the Republic feared that Julius Caesar was going to establish a monarchy and establish permanent rulership. In 44 BC, they decided to assassinate him, thereby restoring the Republic in the short term. In the ensuing chaos and absence of leadership, Caesar's great nephew, Octavius, quickly assumed power and permanently ended the Republic by establishing a de facto monarchy. After Caesar's death, it became obvious that he was killed to eradicate an immediate perceived threat. But the plan wasn't well thought out because Caesar had never intended to create a monarchical system in the first place. The long-term consequences were that by making decisions for the short term, the conspirators brought about exactly what they had tried to prevent. When we're facing a decision to make in the present, especially when something is threatening us, we tend to grab for an immediate solution without thinking deeply about the context. The roots of the problem, or the potential unintended consequences that might ensue. Because we react instead of thinking and responding, our actions are often based on insufficient information, and that can get us into a lot of trouble. The reality is that you either didn't see or aren't seeing the decisions you're making or have made to satisfy short-term need could negatively impact your long-term needs. You're falling prey to short-term thinking when you should be thinking and acting in terms of what will be the best for you in the long run. And sorry you guys, but when I read these, like, other thoughts just start coming into my head. And like with this one, as it relates to our health and the fear of what other people might think, I'm really thinking about like emotions, right? And like, if someone has said something or done something or whatever, or we think that someone has said something about us, like, number one, we're allowing that to take away from our own happiness, right? That can quickly bring, like, if you're feeling optimistic, if you're feeling like you're in a good mood, you have a good attitude, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, let's just say, somebody puts a post and you think it's about you. And whether it's about you or isn't about you, you're allowing what someone else thinks or feels to kind of shift your mood. In this instance, if it's about the short term, because you're just worried about, like, right now, well, this person said this. And it might cause you to react in a way such as, like, if you had planned to go to the gym that day, you don't go because you're in a social media battle with someone online and you're infuriated. Or if you're an emotional eater, right? You start binging on foods that you had said you weren't going to eat anymore. Or you were going to limit, like, now your whole supply of, like, if you were supposed to eat ice cream like once or twice a week, you're eating all your ice cream supply in one day because you're allowing emotions, like, in the moment, the short term, to get the better of you. When in the long term, what that person thinks of you or what you think that person thinks of you, I mean, it really has no bearing. Like, it's irrelevant. That's what I'm getting right off the bat with that. And if that's something that you're doing, and it's affecting, it's having an impact, it's affecting your health, right? And maybe health is something that you're working on, and it's going to help you to make a really major shift, and help you to become a better person. Like, you feel good about yourself. You're looking at things in a positive light. So you're manifesting things, you know, that you were wanting to manifest. Whereas, you know, it's the opposite if you're not taking care of yourself and taking care of your health, because you're worried about what other people are thinking. Okay, so right off the bat, we have card 18, which says, eyes of the eagle rising above the fray. Oh my goodness. And right off the bat, I'm thinking like, you know, like letting go, like rising above. If it's, you know, worrying about what someone says or what someone might be saying or thinking about you, like you have to rise above that, and you can't let that control your actions, what you do. You can't allow those things to control your day. Like you could have like this whole, if you're like, you have this whole goal, this whole map or blueprint of what you want to happen for your life. And, you know, you've like written down this plan of action or something like that. And then every time someone says something, or you think someone says something about you, like you get off track, you go off course. But you already have a plan for your greatness, but you're getting off track and you're getting off course. And one of the negative aspects of, because it's 1 plus 8, which is 9, one of the negative aspects of that has to do with being impulsive. And like I said, if you have a plan and you think someone said something about you, now, you know, you switch up like what you already have planned because you're worried about what you think somebody else has said or done. Okay, what else? Ooh. So we have overflow, so overwhelm and plenty. Overflow, overwhelm, and plenty. And then we have a tidy house, clarity and organization. Yeah, 43 breaks down to 7, which has to do with, you know, just being wise. And that's what I'm getting from that one, is about, you know, being wise. Because what is happening right now, it's causing you to feel overwhelmed, right, with the situation. And again, it knocks you off course. You're supposed to be in like this state of plenty, where you're manifesting, or you're making things happen. You should have an overflow of wealth and abundance, and, you know, great health and confidence, feeling good about yourself. And with the with this one, card number 1, which is about being determined. Like I'm getting, you have to make sure that you're being resilient, and also that you're crystal clear on what it is that you want for yourself and what's important to you. What's more important to you? What's the most important to you? Is it you and your health? Or is it what other people might think about you? So that's what I'm getting from that. And I don't know if this is something that you've been struggling with for a while. At the bottom is teachability, hollow bone teachability. But you have to be open to that lesson of not allowing yourself to get overly emotional or emotional at all, really. Like you shouldn't, like you're going to have to get over showing emotion because you think other people might be saying something that you don't like or saying something about you or whatever. You have to get out of that energy. That might be like a major lesson. And if you don't learn it quickly, it has the possibility of affecting your health. And I'm saying possibility, but you know, we know, like, if you get to that point where you're allowing what other people think to kind of overrule your judgment, you know, we have like where you're making impulsive decisions that may be bad for your health. So, and on top of that, long term, it could be really stressing you out if you're giving other people that type of control over you, which is not good for your health. So if someone, and this is at the top, repairing the veil. So if someone might be talking about you or saying something negative about you, forgive them. And it doesn't even mean like, you know, messaging them or calling them and saying, you know, I forgive you. Like, no, you don't need to do all that. Just say, you know, hey, I forgive them, and just move on. Move on about your business. Yeah, at the bottom of this one, wow, it's emotional storm. Practice allowing. This too shall pass. Could you let it go? Let it go. Let it go. Okay, what else do we have so we can wrap up health? I'm going to stop letting fear of what other people think hold us back from being the best versions of ourselves as it relates to our health. Yeah. The first one that came out, we have protection, shield your energy. If you have people, like those people, if you have to, you know, I like to talk things out, but you don't have to, especially depending on the situation. Block them, move on, who cares? But shield your energy. Call on support from spirit, from the Most High. And then it says strength. You have to be strong. Just keep going through, you know, keep moving. Don't allow people to stop you and block you from the path that, you know, whatever you're moving towards. Claim your power and plow through, I guess, but claim your power. Take your power back. Don't allow someone else to control your life, essentially, your health. And that's really, you know, I'm hearing health is wealth, right? Because that's the true wealth. If you're not healthy, like, you can have all the money in the world, but if you feel like trash every single day, like, you're not really enjoying it. So part of it, of really being wealthy, has to do with being in good health, mentally and physically and spiritually. And here we go again, guidance from spirit. Awareness above your head. Spirit is communicating and support. You're being supported in this. You're being guided. You might be receiving, you know, like different messages with, you know, like maybe angel numbers or just different things like that. Your dreams. Clouds. I don't know. But whenever you kind of get overwhelmed or overly emotional about what people are thinking or what you think people are thinking or saying about you, we have at the bottom return to I always say return to sender. I don't know what that's about, but return to center. Just stay calm. And at the top, we have way shower. Lead, don't follow. Pave a new way. Embrace new possibilities. Like you're showing you can show other people, like be the leader and show them, like you don't have to react. Especially if that's like a cycle in your family where, you know, people feel the need to react and respond and become overly emotional about, you know, what somebody says or what somebody does. That's a cycle that needs to be broken. That can be keeping a whole generation away from being abundantly healthy and abundantly wealthy. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our last little section, which has to do with spirituality or your spiritual journey and how we are allowing our fear of what other people might be thinking. How are we allowing that to hold us back from becoming all that we are meant to be, related to, you know, our spiritual path. Oh, and we have number 1. 1 is about leadership. It's about being courageous, being bold. So right off the bat, why do I keep saying right off the bat? Who says that? This whole thing, I keep saying right off the bat. I'm kind of getting the impression that somehow it's related to whatever this is, this fear of what other people might think. Like we're supposed to do things different. Like your spiritual journey might be different from that of your family, maybe that of your friends. Like either your family is religious and you're on more of a spiritual path that you're meant to take, but out of fear of what they would think about you or what they're going to say about you, you haven't started, you haven't taken it, you haven't fully embraced it. Or it's possible, you know, your family is spiritual and you're supposed to be on a religious path. I don't know. But whatever it is, you're supposed to be bold and take action towards whatever that path is that you're meant to take. We're all on a different path. We all have different spiritual missions. So if mom or grandma is talking about, you know, in our family, your path is not the same as your mom's. Your path is not the same. Your mission is not the same as your grandma's or your dad's or your granddad. It's not the same. You're different people. Okay, so let's look at number 1 and let's see what we have here. Wow, number 1 is just your fear. And we just said, you know, 1 is about, you know, being bold, being courageous. And that's something that you're going to you have to do. It says the thing preventing you from clearly seeing the reality of the situation at hand is your own fear. By its very nature, to fear is to push something or someone away from you. This is why fear is the number one most isolating experience on the planet. The more fearful we are, the more alone we are. It's important that we come to recognize what all our fears are about in order to both understand our reaction and choose how to respond to our fear. Fear can be defined as a response to a perceived threat. When we perceive something to be a danger to us, meaning that we perceive the possibility of suffering, harm, or injury on a physical, mental, or emotional level, then of course we naturally want to get away from it. Usually we want either to push it away, which will be fighting it, or we want to run away from it. So that's the flight. Even if we grow up in loving environments, we inherit fear in the belief that we're not able to deal with certain things. We adopt feelings of powerlessness and inadequacy without questioning them, and we adopt the inevitable fear that comes as a result of it. And I usually, the other ones I didn't stop, but here I'm having to stop because let's go back to if this is about like your spiritual journey and your family, like members of your family, never answered the call. Perhaps they did have a call to, spirituality, but they never answered the call out of their fear. And then they taught you to be fearful of spirituality. I don't know. Unfortunately, the primary ways that we cover up our fears are through avoidance and control. Interestingly, it doesn't matter whether the threat we are perceiving is really a threat to us or not. What matters is if we perceive it to be a threat. Unless we feel safe in a given situation or with a given person, we will naturally push that situation or that person away from us. People who spend their life avoiding the feeling of fear never really live. They wander through life in a routine and familiar way only to arrive at death safely. People who live their life in spite of fear don't listen to the important messages encoded in their fear. They ignore limits and warning signs and do not look after themselves. This ultimately leads to suffering and collapse. Our life depends on our capacity to lovingly take responsibility for our fear. Trying to conquer fear or get rid of fear is nothing more than trying to separate yourself from separation itself. Remember, the opposite of fear is love. Any love you can have toward anything diminishes your fear. But the ultimate answer to fear is to love the self within you that is afraid and love the self within you that you are the most afraid of. It's by embracing fear itself that we dissolve fear. The unacknowledged threat is not something you don't see about the situation itself or someone involved in it. It is your own tendency to sabotage a good thing because of fear. Right now, you're using the tool of worry and expecting the worst to prevent yourself from being blindsided. It is a way to try to control the situation, which is a way of avoiding your fear. Instead of avoiding your fear, you need to face it. Otherwise, your fear will continue to obscure your capacity to see the truth of this situation, which isn't a bad truth. And so right now, I keep, several times it was the perceived threat. And so in this instance, what I'm really feeling like is like there may not, like it might be an excuse that you're using saying, oh, what are people going to think? But it's really, you're just afraid to take the leap, whoever this is for. So it's not, in this situation, it's not a case of like someone else holding you back. It's not, your fear of what other people think. Like that is something that you're using as your excuse. The person that's really holding you back is yourself. And it's your fear of the unknown that's holding you back. Okay, let's see what else we get from this. Oh, wow. What tried to pop out was covenant, sacred contract. This is something that this journey that you're supposed to be on. It's something that like it's a part of your spiritual contract that you're meant to take is what I'm getting. And so, yeah. The first card is 51, stars in the sky, limitless possibility. So right now it's like you're living in a fear of like the unknown, but what you don't know is that by taking that risk, taking that leap, the sky is the limit, limitless possibilities for you. It's going to open up a lot for you. It's going to lead to, it's kind of like, I'm feeling like the Most High is waiting for you to take this leap, because it's like there's so much waiting for you, but it depends on you taking this leap, on taking this journey. There's no avoiding it. Yeah, surrender. Sky dancers. You're being asked to just surrender. Surrender to this transformation that is meant to take place. And then we have eyes of the eagle rising above the fray. And I'm really seeing that as rising above the fear. Like, ain't nothing to it but to do it. You're going to have to just rise above the fear. Use your intuition. Number 9, because 1 and 8 breaks down to 9, and it also 9 has to do with like the mystical, right? The 2 that are sticking out really have to do with, actually 3, the mystical, the intuitive, and then humanitarian. So you might be having a fear of like those things, the occult, the things that are hidden from you, the things that you consider to be mystical and magical. Those things might be a fear for you for whatever reason. Could have something to do with how you were raised, your past, your, whatever. And that might be something that you need to look into. But I get the feeling that you have a feeling that it's the course that you're supposed to take. Like intuitively, you know what path you're supposed to take. So you really just need to take it. You need to just face, like the card was about, reading the description, it was about you have to face the fear. You have to rise above the fear. You have to face it. And with humanitarian, with the number 9, it's making me think of like you taking this path. Like it's not just like the Most High is waiting for you to accept this call, this calling, because you really are meant to touch the lives of a multitude, like just a lot of other people, to help like with the collective healing. And it's really important, like it's bigger than you, it's bigger than me. And that's why it's really important for you to answer that call. At the bottom we have forgiveness. So I'm feeling like if you are feeling fear and maybe you feel a little bit guilty or ashamed of feeling fear, like forgive that and let it go. And then underneath is Horseman, Herald of Change, and then just make the change. One step at a time. And just do it lovingly and with compassion. We have Heart Home. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle with yourself. One step at a time. And you're going to learn how to, we have dances on one foot. You are going to learn how to balance the two worlds, right? Your everyday life, material world, whatever that you might have a fear of, like that's what's going to, maybe your fear is about whatever, how it's going to impact your everyday life, right? And you're going to be able to find a balance between that and your spirituality, your spiritual journal. Maybe you need to start journaling. Journal your dreams. Yeah. Journal your dreams. But your journey, you're gonna be able to balance the physical with your spiritual. So you don't have to really worry about that. And I guess maybe journal was important because it says, you know, underneath that it was clarity and organization. So that's a tidy house. That'll help you to, I think, put the pieces together so that you can, you know, make those steps and make those changes. And then the last one that I wanted to look at with this is the power of community, gathering around. So maybe finding some people that, I'm getting like all different levels of spirituality, whether it's like people that are just starting out, as well as, you know, people in the middle of their journey and, you know, whatever. But just find different people on a similar path, and, you know, maybe find a mentor, but find people that are like you, that have a similar mission. I'm not going to say the same mission, but a similar mission as you. Oh, geez. Do I take these? These fell on the floor. And I'm getting no, but it was self-reflection and reveal the true you. It might be important for someone. You have to, no, okay. Ooh, really? Okay, so we have waves of change. Embrace change, paradigm shift, ride the wave of light. And what did we say? Just make the change. Like, you're going to have to rise above that fear, rise above the fray, rise above the fear, and just make the change. Make the change. We have wild child. Embrace playfulness and innocence. Time for inner child healing. So there might be, again, something with your childhood or growing up, something that you learned about, you know, like, and that's why you have this fear of stepping out on your journey for some reason. You know, something that you've learned, maybe that has to do with spirituality to some, you know, yeah. And then we have believe in your dreams, aim high, honor your brilliance, remember you have help. So number one, I'm getting, just like I said, journal, do, you know, write in a journal and write your dreams. But I'm kind of getting where it says, believe in your dreams. I'm getting like, really, no, seriously, believe in your dreams. Not like the, you know, oh, whatever you believe you can do, you know, no, like your actual dreams that you're having. I'm getting, you need to believe in your dreams because you're being shown something. You're being guided in your dreams. You're receiving guidance. You're receiving help. And then the last one that we're looking at is willingness. Act on intuition. But notice this person taking this leap, taking this jump. They might have been afraid to do it, but they've done it, right? Act on intuition, embrace new possibilities, and just go for it. And that's what you have. Okay. So that's what we have for the last one, which has to do with spirituality or your spiritual journey. What is stopping, you know, how are you letting the fear of what other people might think hold you back from becoming all that you were created to be when we're looking at spirituality? And essentially from this, whoever this is for, what I'm getting is that it's actually not, it has nothing to do with other people. It has to do with your own fears, and you're going to have to work those out. You're being asked to take the leap to face those fears. Okay? So that is what I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this message, or these messages, really, depending on if you listened or watched, you know, one, or if you watched all of them. But again, this is Misty with the Oracle Evolution. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video if you liked it, if you loved it. And you know what? Even if you didn't, I love you. Take care now. Bye.